I've been a reporter since I was 19, and I still haven't learned how to wait for it. I wanted a mission for my sins. They gave me one. Nobody'd ever gone on a mission like it before. And when it was over, I'd never want another one.
Your mission is
to do a podcast with Marc Fellhauer and Shawn Windsor.
When you find
Shawn,
infiltrate his team by whatever means available, and terminate.
Shawn.
Terminate.
Terminate with extreme prejudice.
You asked interrogative questions out of my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey, kids, it's your old pal, ML Elric. Back with the soul of Detroit. Marc Fellhauer's here. Shawn Windsor is here. And prepare to be disappointed. Erica Erickson is not here, but she will be back next week with a special guest. What a great time we had last week with Erica and Andy Dirks, who was just a great guest. And you know, I thought about a better title for the show after we posted Dirks and Jerks. What about Dirks and Chaos Island? The Dirks and Chaos Island? No.
Huh?
The Dirks and
What am I missing there?
Turks and Caicos.
Turks and
Oh,
Caicos.
yeah.
No, too deep. Okay, but he was fantastic, and I was driving up north to a memorial service on Saturday, so I couldn't watch the game. I listened to it. Dan Dickerson's terrific too, and Dirks was everything he was on the show. He took complicated notions and broke them down so that you could process them. He gave you in-game analysis where you really felt like, like, okay, that makes sense. Let's see if they do it. And he's really, really got to be one of the best color men that I've heard. And I lived out east, so I heard the Boston broadcasts. I lived in Chicago, so I heard both Chicago stations, although nobody really listens to the White Sox. But just a great guy, and it really, when you're stuck in a car, it adds a dimension to the game that makes it a lot of fun. It feels like you're sitting there watching it and kind of wondering what's going to happen next, if he got it right, or did they do what he said he should do, and if they didn't, did it work? If they didn't do what he said, did they do better? Really, really just great stuff.
Too bad they lost. Too bad they're out.
That part which is why
Sucks.
We started with our intro, the end, because it's the end of the season for the Tigers. But what an amazing run. Just so exciting. And the Free Press had me as a man on the street interviewing fans, talking to people, looking for characters there. And one of the people I ran into was a good friend of Teebs, and he expressed a feeling that
Does everybody know who Josh Teebs is now? Does everyone know who that guy is? I guess if you're a Tiger fan, you do, right? He's the super fan. The guy who went to every game, took signs to every game.
He's eponymous now. He's like Ronaldo. It's like, what's his name? I don't know. There's only one Ronaldo. There's just Teebs.
Here's some fun insider information about Teebs. If the Tigers would have advanced to New York, they were planning on flying him on the team plane to the game. Tickets.
Damn.
Which is kind of like what the Mets are doing with Grimace, I guess. He's basically the Tigers' Grimace. You know the Mets Grimace, the rallied around Grimace from McDonald's?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the hamburger pusher.
No,
but
they've been partying with Grimace. I'm like, I think I'd rather party with Teebs.
Now, is this person in an actual Grimace costume, or are they just wearing a purple suit?
No, it's Grimace. And it started, I believe he threw out the first pitch when they went on a run in June or July. And so they've just kind of rallied around Grimace being their good luck charm, kind of like Teebs.
In the outfit, in the Grimace costume?
Yeah, I think it was a promotion with McDonald's when he threw out the first pitch. But they've been winning ever since then.
He must have skipped the ball to home plate. I can't imagine getting a real good grip on a ball with like a 3-fingered mitt on.
You're missing the point. He was the good luck charm.
Oh, yeah, okay,
right?
sorry. I was thinking
all that matters.
I'm like Andy Dirks. I was calling balls and strikes, and I think if you listen to last week's
I don't think
episode,
they're going to put him in the lineup.
You'll appreciate that Andy wisely saw the similarities between my managerial style and AJ Hinch's, and I thought that was one of the highlights.
You did force it down his throat.
He could have spit it out. He's a big man. It's not a problem.
Freezing.
But before we get to this clip of somebody expressing a feeling that many people have told us, I want to thank our sponsors this week. Dr. Yaldo, who I saw last week.
Yeah.
Super nice guy, had a great examination. I've been going to a couple different eye doctors over the past several years, and they keep telling me I need a stronger prescription than I feel like I need. And I get those glasses, and I'm uncomfortable with them. I saw Dr. Y, and he said, no, you're 1.75. Yeah, they're wrong. I'm like, I've known that. I've just been waiting for a doctor to tell me that. So that was a great experience. We'll tell you later how you should check him out for some of the procedures that he can offer for you. I just went for a regular eye exam, and it was great. Luke Nowacki, who will help you prepare for a better future. Stock market, they say it's going to keep rising, but then sometimes it drops. Don't get caught up in that. Let Luke do the worrying for you. And then when you have a little time to recreate.
It's never too late to start investing.
No, in fact, if you can put $1 away today, that's a lot better than putting away $10 10 years from now.
Got it.
Just the power, the magic of compounding. And then the Caju Cafe, if you're looking for a great place to hear great music, have some good food, and have some fun, the Caju Cafe on the east side is our wholehearted choice for the place to go. And we'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on this week at the Caju. It's always something fun, you know that, but we'll tell you specifically. But first, a friend of Teeb's, I ran into him outside Comerica Park, and here's what he had to say about our dear friend and occasional co-conspirator.
Oh.
Okay, first give me your name. Alex Burke. And I understand, Alex, you were inquiring about Shawn's presence on the podcast.
Yes, he sometimes is late or not there, and I was worried about him. I do appreciate him being there when he is, though.
Now, would you say that you're a big Shawn Windsor fan?
Yes, I like the energy he brings, and especially his off-the-cuff stories.
And what do you think about the podcast when Shawn can't make it?
I think it does okay without Shawn. I think you guys are able to carry it without him, but I do like his presence. He has an aura about him.
Oh, that's certainly true.
SW.
Shawn Windsor. Yeah, buddy. No, Shawn's the man.
And of course, the man with an aura and energy in the background is Teebs. We'll hear from him a little later in the show. But Shawn, you have an aura. What? Damn.
As Don Rickles once said, it's late and I'm fed up and tired.
Boy, I'll tell you, if you're watching us,
I'm ready to go.
If you're watching us as our Patreon subscribers, members of the Soulmates, as Erica calls you, for as little as $5 a month, you saw Shawn start to rub the mic in a very disturbing manner, and that's kind of the tell.
That's when he does his best thinking.
He's getting ready to kick some wisdom. It starts with a little motor activity.
The Shawn stroke.
I have nothing today. So
what do you mean you have nothing?
So
you're full of stuff today.
No.
But pre-show, you were full of lots of good stuff.
Yeah, what are you doing? Alex just gives you an endorsement. He talks about the energy, the passion, the aura, and then you come on here like some cadaver revived by Jonah Hex.
It was probably the 5-minute monologue of yours when you started the show, but it probably took it right out of me.
Well, I thought you might appreciate a recap of what happened when you weren't here since, although you probably listened to the show.
To be honest, I'm hurt because before, as the listeners don't know this, but in the run-up to the whatever you want to call it, the pre-show, Mike, and maybe Mark too, but Mike for sure, asked if I was in Dallas. Yeah, thank you.
You were in Dallas. What was happening in Dallas?
The Lions Cowboys.
Oh, the Lions Cowboys.
Yeah, thanks for reading your own paper. That's nice.
So I was looking into a judge who may have some issues, but yeah, I will catch up on your
Mark.
I know. I apologize.
Mark can be excused.
I did apologize though. I did say I haven't read your columns lately. So I did apologize. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Lately, meaning since Sunday. It's only been 2 days.
I know.
So, Shawn, you
I thought I might
witnessed
be in
something.
New York.
No, you're that sensitive.
I thought I might be in New York.
Yeah.
What, trying out for a Broadway show?
When I went to Texas, I packed because I thought I might be going from Dallas straight to New York City.
My God, how exhausting.
Well, I did it a couple of
I
weeks
know.
before. I went to Houston and packed for Cleveland.
And then you had to use the laundromat in Cleveland.
Yeah, you stood up the hammer because you had to clean your skivvies. That's not very generous.
How was the laundromat? Actually, I take that back. I've been to a laundromat.
Well, it's funny. They sold it.
Laundromats are a blast, aren't they?
They sold it as a laundromat
like laundromats.
cafe, like an internet cafe, so you could go and get work done or whatever and hang out. It was actually a vending machine and I guess they had Wi-Fi. So that was
that was the workspace.
That was the laundromat and the cafe.
That's the kind of precious anecdote that brings listeners like Alex back every week.
Was it busy?
Little false advertising. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay.
You know, we used to be
Now,
sponsored.
are you the kind of
It
person
was
that
a
would
Sunday night, if I'm not mistaken.
Would you be comfortable like putting a load in and leaving and then coming back, or would you be afraid someone's going to steal your stuff?
I don't. Well, I'd be more worried. This is just me. This is sort of pathetic. I'd be more worried that I would mistime it, and if the laundromat were busy, and then I had clothes sitting in there taking up a machine that somebody could be using. So.
But then there's no worse feeling when you come back. At least this happened when I lived in the dorms all the time. If your stuff's sitting in there for like 10 seconds after the cycle's done, people unload it and just throw it in a corner or on a table. It's like, I just washed those.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems fair. If you abandon your property, you take your chances. I had a problem in Chicago where
the
I
other
left
person
some
could
stuff.
just wait. I mean,
Wait, it was Chicago or was it New Hampshire?
This is Chicago.
Okay,
I've been around. I haven't been to Texas and Champaign, Illinois, and Kuala Lumpur and all the places you've been, but stealing mopeds and shit. But
not Kuala Lumpur.
Scratching acid and stuff. But
You have been to Costa Rica though.
I have been, but I didn't live there. I didn't reside there. Just riding a bike there. But I did leave some stuff in a dryer in the laundromat down the street from me in Chicago, and I put just enough coins in there for it to dry. And I was gone, and something happened, and I forgot, and I came back. The dryer never stopped. By the time I took my clothes out of them, they were so hot, I almost got third-degree burns just from handling the towels. And, of course,
dry.
That was...
Did they shrink up? Did you turn your boxers into Speedos?
That was 25 years ago when stuff was still mostly all
They started
cotton.
as Speedos.
Yeah.
So everything I took out of there, they went from being Speedos to thongs, but it was not good. All my clothes got
shrunk. Were you a Fruit of the Loom guy?
No, I've always been kind of a boxer brief guy.
So you're like a little snug.
I like my boys to be comfortable.
You like them to be tight.
I like to think of it like buying eggs, that there's a little cradle and everything's there for protection so that when you need to crack them open, they're ready to go.
Wait, don't you wear boxer briefs? Isn't that what everybody wears now?
I don't know.
I remember when those were like invented and everyone's like, whoa, this is the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's
Do people still wear tighty whities?
No,
Sure.
not that I know of.
Yeah, I used to wear them for sports.
You're the one that was at the laundromat. Did you see a bunch getting washed?
I wasn't really looking at the washing machines.
Thank God.
Yeah, he was just trying to dry his fishnets out. Very disturbing.
You don't like fishnets, eh?
Shawn was asked to leave the laundromat.
Is it the fishnets or is it the candy apple red heels?
I think it's the chain link.
Go with it.
Yeah, that's what people.
And how dare you say you have nothing today for us, mister?
I don't.
Phew, it's a second dirty undie story.
You guys can carry the show.
Well, we've had.
You saw what happened in Texas, best Lions regular season win in a long time, sort of undercut by the awful injury of Aidan Hutchinson.
Totally undercut.
You all saw that.
Well, no, you saw something in Texas that we couldn't see because they kept saying on the broadcast, and yes, I was watching the game, that we're not going to show you that. We're not going to show you where Aidan Hutchinson got hurt. What was it like, Shawn? I mean, they made us believe that it was horrible.
It's hard to tell from watching it live because it's in the thick of the bodies, and it's like trying to see something in the hedge.
Can I ask you, do you think it's a little silly that they're like, we're not going to show this to you again, as opposed to saying, we're going to show you this. This is awful. We'll show it once or twice from different angles.
No, a lot of people don't want to see it. It starts to become voyeurism a little bit.
That's what I mean about once or twice. Do you remember Kevin Ware? Played for Louisville against Michigan, and he snapped his leg on the court, right? They showed it a handful of times, like, oh, we're not going to show it anymore, after they had already showed it. So they kind of wanted the best of both worlds. But nowadays, everybody can just hop on Twitter or social media and see it. I actually backed it up on YouTube TV where you can really scrub really easily, and you can see it. So you're just taking me out of the game You're making me do your work.
Was it horrific, Mark? Is this something that we should be grateful we didn't have to see?
My sons regretted seeing it, and I think some people don't mind that kind of stuff. Though.
I could tell right away. Well, I wanted to know what the injury was. I wanted to know if it was knee or ankle, but after watching it one time, he's like, "Oh yeah, you can see exactly what happened."
The first thing we saw was on the ground and he's yanking his glove off. So in the press box, the first thought was, "Wow, he hurt his hand."
Yeah,
he broke a nail.
But then when we
wouldn't be that cynical.
You could see him land on
Carlos would.
Would he?
I think so. He'd say he blew his chance for Defensive Player of the Year and the Cy Young.
By the way, he defended himself in the Cowboys Stadium. He was on the road too. He said it's blown up and taken a whole life of its own, and he never really wrote that. I wrote that that Tarek Skubal hurt his chances after his first home start, second start of the season, 6 games in, whatever it was.
He's walking that back?
And he said no, and then he said, this is what I said, blah, 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 blah. He hurt his chances. I said, isn't that what I just said?
Yeah, but
he said, well, how many starts would you give him? This is the thing about Carlos. He won't just say, okay, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. He wanted to know, how many starts would you give him struggling before you'd write he hurt his young? I said not 2.
I just think that is a victim of kind of the sports sphere of reacting right away to one thing, and you see it all the time.
Yeah, but is it?
And I gotta tell you,
nobody else in our paper does that. Nobody else in this market really does that. Maybe on radio.
People on sports radio,
even sports radio, would not say that after Tarek Skubal.
Oh yeah, they would.
You know what I would like to do? I'd like to see the Free Press publish a book of Carlos's columns under the headline, I was wrong about this. He on a regular basis writes a column and says, okay, I got to admit I was wrong about this. I'm like,
well, it's okay to be wrong in sports.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
That's fucking time.
That's why they play the game, Mark.
It's
on
not
any given
okay.
Sunday.
It's not okay to be that consistently wrong. It's not okay.
Consistently wrong, yeah, not a good
But
thing.
not even, but forget that, because we all have to make predictions, and what is it? We're not even 50-50 at it, probably. Here's the thing. What I don't think is good for the Free Press is when somebody says something that's not true. And a pitcher, and a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball in a season with 162 games, who's throwing the home opener, his second start, ridiculous. 5 games, 6 games into the season, that hurt his Cy Young chances is not factually true.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like it.
Yeah, but his opinion could be that he felt in his mind that hurt him.
But there's no truth. That's not fact. That's not a fact. There's nobody in baseball that would say you ruined unless you got hurt and you can't pitch again, you ruined your Cy Young chances after one start, especially when your first start was dominant. There's no way. That's just not true. Well, it's objectively not true.
Bringing it back to lines, I'll give you another example. It kind of drove me nuts after the game. I was listening to 97.1, and the guy at night was just like, mind you, they just destroyed the Cowboys. Probably the best game we've seen them play in I don't know, in the Campbell era, maybe
regular season. Yeah, most complete game. Yeah,
I would. Yeah. So everybody's pretty pumped up, and whoever the host was like, well, they're not going to win the Super Bowl now. Hutchinson's out, and I'm like, well, there's no guarantee they were going to win it with him.
That's always that's my point. That's different though, Mark. That's right. That's just an opinion.
It is an opinion, but I just thought it was a trolly opinion.
Seems like a pretty definitive opinion.
I thought it was a trolly opinion to get callers. So
of course it is.
The first caller calls in and kind of takes him to test. He's like, we just had a great game. What are you talking? We just beat Dallas. This made me laugh because the caller, sports radio callers, cracked me up. We just beat Dallas on Jerry Jones's birthday, which, okay. I mean, that's more circumstance than anything.
No, then the host, Lions fans loved that it was just Jerry Jones.
Sure, and the host is like, "Yep, if Jerry Jones isn't your owner, then you don't like him, but he's better than any owner in this city." I'm like, well, is that what we're talking about now? I don't get what's going on here.
I certainly like Sheila Hamp Ford a lot more. Here's someone who only gets results and doesn't make it all about her.
My point being is, I listen longer because of his.
That's the key. Can you do that?
Because of his trolling comment.
I certainly can't. That's been made clear to me over the weeks.
But you do it for the Free Press.
Maybe. They do put my picture on it. But yeah, no,
that's just branding. You do it for the Free Press.
I think that the Lions, it's going to be interesting to see how they react to this. And I saw a lot of people saying, get Max Crosby, which would be awesome. I don't know what you got to give up for him.
Done, but yeah.
But there's nothing going on in Las Vegas, so maybe.
They did sign someone off of a practice squad today, so yay.
Kind of tough to replace an all-pro with someone who couldn't make the opening night roster.
You know what's amazing though, and I might probably write something along these lines later today, actually for tomorrow. But you know how many Super Bowls are won where the team has the best one of the top 5 defensive ends in the NFL? Almost never.
Really?
No, tackles make the difference. People are saying, well, what about Aaron Donald, Chris Jones? Those guys rush from the inside.
Well, my first thought was Strahan beating the Patriots, undefeated Patriots.
Yeah, what was that, 2007?
Him and Tuck single-handedly.
You got to go back to 2007.
Sure.
Yeah. But the best pressure, speaking of Tom Brady, he used to talk about this, all quarterbacks say this, is up from the middle.
Always, yeah.
It's why defensive ends matter. I'm not saying they don't. Of course they matter, and the pressure. But when you can wreck the pocket from the inside, that's a different level, and which is what Chris Jones does for Kansas City.
Yeah, guy's unreal.
Which is why their defense is, Aaron Donald did that with the Rams a few years ago, coming from the same spot.
And Lions fans remember the name Ndamukong Suh. Even on those bad teams, he blew up the middle.
It was unbelievable.
Constantly. What's he doing? Can we sign him up?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So
yeah,
is he 40 now?
Hopefully, he's apologizing to all the people he offended while he was in Detroit.
They're not done.
Wait, who do you offend? What happened? Am I forgetting something?
He
was an asshole.
He was not very community oriented. He ran that woman off the road
asshole.
and tried to cover it up. I mean,
right.
he was, talk about a man without grace.
No, I'm not a Sioux fan as a person. As a player, loved him.
Yeah, he was okay.
No, but their Super Bowl chances aren't done, right? Not if they're going to stay. If their offense is going to remain elite, their defense just needs to be middling. Last year, their pass defense was 2 or 3 worse in the league. If they can, they've been a top 10 defense so far this year. They can slip, but if they can stay 17, 18 and that, you can go look. There's a history of it. If a team is elite offensively, they can be okay defensively and still win the Super Bowl. You don't have to be dominant
defensively, yeah.
But you can't be terrible.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between great and terrible, right?
The rules in that league favor an offense.
And then you got to get a break or two, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You last year, you got to have somebody not drop a third down pass, whatever.
Oh, boy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so Beef, I'm not ready to leave the Tigers behind because this was such an incredible finish to the season.
Okay, old man.
Well, but the Lions, that story is going to be told over the next couple months. But the Tigers, there's so much excitement at the end of that season that I hope that this is something they can pick up on and that they can build on it and give us something to cheer from day one, because it almost seems like they found this magic formula. I was at the game on, I think it was Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I have never seen the starter get pulled after the first inning and the opposing team put a pinch hitter in for somebody before he's even been up to bat once.
It's pitching chaos, baby.
It's a whole different type of baseball. And if you're somebody who likes small ball, low scoring games where steals matter and sacrifices are important. And, one of these days, somebody on the Tigers is going to learn to bunt. But you don't want to go get a beer or go to the bathroom because you could miss the crucial play. And that play on Saturday, while Skubal giving up the grand slam was obviously a death knell for the team. Their inability to play a nubber on the infield that would have possibly been a double play, or at least given them 2 outs. That was a play, an insignificant play that their whole playoff hopes may have pivoted on.
But I still think that game in the series came down to the fact that the Indians. I just dead named them. Oh no!
Oh, the Guardians.
The Guardians.
I kept trying to write that every time I wrote
Indians.
They're the only team I have and then I'd say, "Oh God, okay, Guardians."
That's the only team I have trouble doing that with. I don't do it with the Commanders
because Guardians is so close to Indians.
That's also a really terrible nickname. But
you really have to know Cleveland to even get it.
Yeah, it's the statues, right?
Yeah, and the bridge that protects.
Dumb.
Cleveland from evil spirits.
They did it because of what you were just talking about, Shawn, the IANS. Which, by the way, if you look at the crowd during those games, everybody in the stands has Indians gear.
Well, when I would walk through, because to get to the press box at that stadium,
did you see a lot of Indians gear or Guardians gear?
Both. It was both. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Split, probably.
But what I was going to say is I think the difference in that series in Game 5 was the fact that the Guardians could hit a ball over the wall and the Tigers hit 3 off the wall.
Yeah.
That's it. No. It's the long ball, man.
It does make a difference, but if you can get out of that inning, it's still a dogfight. So part of my role as as the man on the street was to talk to some characters, and one of the guys I talked to, of course, was our buddy Teebs.
Look at that guy.
Folks, I want to introduce you to a man you probably have already seen. This is Teebs.
Oh, he's got his
a
pumpkin
super
seed.
Fan. He is almost bigger than the team. Teebs, tell us what's going to happen today. What's going to happen?
Tigers in 4 or 5. Scooble nose.
Scooble nose.
Kiss my lucky seed.
Okay, and I'm here with Freddie Mercury. What do you have? What's going on, man?
Brother.
Tigers, baby.
Tigers,
Let's get it.
Okay,
Let's
what's
get
it
it.
say?
Carps is going to do it again.
Don't let the Tigers get hot. But you want them to get hot.
They're already hot.
Okay.
They're already hot.
It's a play on words.
I like it. What is
Scooble nose.
What does he know? Tell me, what does he know?
He knows to believe. Just like we got to believe in each other and the city of Detroit, believe in this team. This team is Detroit. This team embodies Detroit and our state. And you. And me and him and everybody. Let's go.
There you go. Let's go. Now, not everybody I encountered was quite as accommodating. I was trying to do a little stand-up for these posts, and here's an outtake that you will not see at freep.com.
The same night that the Red Wings are starting their season, it seems like a good time for a little hockey story from the old ballpark. Check out the roof of the Tin Roof. Now, this was a bar that Chris Chelios owned for a little while. You may remember Chelly's Chili Bar.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, thanks, Dickface.
Oh, you look so pissed.
I was now I know I have a little appreciation for influencers trying to do their thing and being interrupted by
You're an influencer.
by the unwashed masses.
You're an influencer of the unwashed masses, aren't you?
Very frustrating.
Look at that, how pissed off he is there, Shawn.
Not pleased.
You got a turtleneck on. I mean, why wouldn't you be an influencer?
Hey, it's been a long time since anybody's been able to wear warm weather or cold weather gear to a Tigers game.
So, it's opening day. Do you? I mean, so I guess every year, but
Well,
that's a long time.
That's quite a while. That's 8 months there.
You're factually wrong.
Yeah, last time I dressed that warm for a Tiger game, Scooble had blown his chance at the Cy Young. That's helpful.
So
for context.
Here's my question: do you have to have initials in your first name in order to wear a turtleneck?
Well, I think
who else does?
I don't want to go back to our Andy Dirks interview, but I think we've established you have to use initials as a first name to be a great manager. And I will tell you, one of the players who I put in a position to succeed, to really help him be more than people thought he was, is our own Carlos Menares. He's a great first baseman, fills in at shortstop, can play a little left field, and he's got a little dynamite in that bat. He's got some pop.
He was a baseball. Did he play college baseball or?
I think he did. I think he said when he was in here. I think he said he did.
It must have been community college, but he's a good softball player.
Did we have him in
good
here?
soccer player too.
When did we have Carlos in here?
Oh, maybe 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, so okay.
We try and have him in here when you're not on, Shawn, because we don't want any fights. We don't want any trouble.
Oh no, it's all good. We love Carlos.
But listening to
I took Carlos to a 100-year-old Tex-Mex place, one of the original Tex-Mex places in Texas.
Yeah, because a guy named Menares has never had Mexican food.
Joe T. Garcia. Oh, he grew up eating Stovers in white bread, Southern California. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Is that what they taught you in Thailand about Mexican food?
Yeah. Joe T. Garcia it's not authentic Mexican, but it's one of the first Tex-Mex. It's 1920s. It started right next to the stockyards in Fort Worth. It's a great old place. And I once sat next to Peter Weller there, oddly enough, but it made me think of it.
What?
Yeah.
This is what Alex comes back for every week.
I know.
The non sequiturs.
Anyway.
Robo Shawn.
Yeah, no.
I've actually been to that Tex-Mex restaurant in Fort Worth next to the stock. I've actually been there.
It's got this.
Not a fan of Fort Worth, by the way. Just throwing that out.
It's got the
a suburb of Texas, Dallas, I believe.
Yeah.
It's got the they have a chip on their shoulder about Dallas and Fort Worth. They feel a little overlooked.
Well, I'm equal on both. I didn't care for either city. So.
Well,
you didn't? You don't like all that sprawl and?
The people were fine. I don't know. I just didn't care for it, and I don't like how Jerry World's in the middle of both of them. And,
in Arlington, next to the Six Flags and the Wet n Wild.
Yeah.
You didn't.
I mean, it's fine. I didn't hate it. It wasn't terrible, but it was just
you
kinda,
weren't out in the neighborhood. You didn't get a feel.
Yeah, my friend lived in Dallas at the time, so
you went down into Deep Ellum and you did all that kind of thing.
I don't know what neighborhood she lived in.
But you were probably up in Highland Park, where Matthew Stafford's from, where all the
definitely not Highland Park,
where all the BMWs were and so forth.
Definitely wish you did not live.
And where the kids in the '80s raised their Izod raised the collars on their eyes odds.
Why are you defending the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
And then went to, I lived there. I'm not defending it necessarily, but, they went to SMU and TCU, and you know the type.
Meh. What does that mean? Oh, preppies?
Yeah, that was like the home of the preppies.
I didn't know that. I don't know. Not my favorite area.
Well, listening to Teebs talk about how as Detroiters we all need to come together and we have this great spirit got me thinking about some comments made, I think maybe the next day or maybe that day, by Donald Trump about Detroit and telling people who came to the Detroit Economic Club.
Do you want me to play it?
That if Kamala Harris, well, let me set it up, then let's play it. If Kamala Harris and Governor Walz are elected president, then they're going to turn the rest of the country into, hit it.
You want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president.
I mean, it's a 6-second clip that's making its rounds.
Well, and I guess there's a new clip about Bill Clinton saying something about immigration where people are trying to turn it into him being critical of Kamala Harris and Biden, which I've heard the whole clip, and that doesn't line up. But immediately the media jumped on Trump by saying, who goes to a place and criticizes a place and suggested this may come back to haunt Trump and it may hurt him in the battleground state of Michigan where it's neck and neck and every vote is going to count. And Mark, I think you and I see eye to eye on this, that I don't think this is going to hurt Trump at all. In fact,
I don't think anything hurts him.
Well, there's that too. I mean, they talked about Teflon Ron Reagan, who also survived an assassination attempt. Trump not only seems to be able to say things that would sink any other candidate, but I think he either by design, although he's so all over the map, it's hard to think that this is plotted out somewhere, or by instinct or just by luck, gets it right a lot of the time. And I'm of the mind that while there are 600 to 700,000 Detroiters who will be offended by that comment, there are probably 8 million people in the state of Michigan who are like, yes, we do not want the rest of the country, we do not want the rest of our state to be like Detroit, because there is tremendous resentment against Detroit, partly because there's some racism out there, partly because whenever something goes wrong in Detroit, we have to mount this massive multi-million, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars bailout of the schools, of the city. And for decades, there have been candidates in the neighboring communities, in Macomb County for one, running against Coleman Young and Big Bad Detroit. And if you elect my opponent, you're going to be inviting Detroit into our community. You're going to be making our area more like Detroit, where in Detroit, where we take a lot of pride in the city, and if you live in the suburbs, you travel somewhere else, you point proudly to Detroit as your home, even if it's really Farmington Hills or whatever. But within Michigan, I think there's a lot of people like, yeah, we don't like Detroit that much. We don't want our money going to Detroit. We don't want Detroiters coming to our community. I think that actually is going to help Trump and not hurt him, because the national media doesn't understand the dynamics in this state, even though they spend a lot of time here.
Now, the Harris campaign immediately turned it into a commercial, too, for that runs locally here. It's not going to run nationally because of what you just said.
Right.
So
now, maybe it will help Harris with black males in Detroit who have been reluctant to embrace her campaign. But when I heard Obama criticizing black men for not supporting Trump,
it was weird.
That's one of those things where when you tell people to do something, it may have the opposite effect, because they kind of feel like, you're not the boss of me. Don't tell me.
They're not a monolith,
what to do.
Right?
Right. And I also happen to think that there are a lot of black people who think Obama and Harris are a little bougie. They didn't grow up in Hawaii or San Francisco. They didn't go to Harvard or Yale. Now Kamala Harris did go to Howard, which is a historically black university, but she also went to high school in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So, I think there are a lot of black people who have had a more modest and a more challenged upbringing who are a little skeptical that they're not seeing themselves in Kamala Harris as much as I think President Obama and the Harris campaign would like.
Doesn't that really show the real disconnect here is that there are this group of elites that grow up a certain way and go to certain universities that run everything on both parties?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, who was the last politician that really was, dragged themselves up from the bottom?
Clinton.
Well, you could say,
okay, that's fair.
You could
to a
say,
point, but he also is incredibly well educated.
He's also the stepson of a guy. The stepson of a guy who owned a car dealership. So I don't think he missed too many meals. And Obama, he was raised by a single mother, and Kamala Harris was raised by a single mother. I think they both had some struggles when they were young, but
they also had a lot of opportunities.
But they also, once they became college age, doors started to open for them in a way that they don't open for your average Detroiter who's raised by a single parent and is struggling to pay their bills. But yeah, I think Amy Coney Barrett is one of the first people to be confirmed for the U.S. Supreme Court who didn't go to an Ivy League school. Yep. And even then, I think she went to Notre Dame or someone, which is, as hard to get into as any Ivy League school. But this country is run by elites, and you can say it's because our best and brightest rise to those levels where they can get into an Ivy League school. But, boy, I'll tell you, I sure would like to see somebody with a degree from Michigan State in charge of something, because I think when you have people from
you're in charge
Iowa
you're in charge of this podcast.
Well, and look at how well that's going. There goes my theory right down the toilet.
Oh, you do a great job running this. And by the way,
at least Michigan had Gerald Ford, right?
I have a slightly different take on the Trump Detroit thing. I think that I don't know that it'll hurt him.
Alex is waited with bated breath.
I'm sure. I don't know that it'll hurt him, but I don't agree that the rest of the state. I would agree that a lot of folks felt that way, and not everybody, but I don't know what the percentage is. All I know is the perception of the city within the state, within the suburbs of the city, has changed dramatically with a lot of people in the last 10 years, especially the last 5 years. I mean, COVID slowed it down. There's always been pride, to your point, Mike, about if you're outside, you're traveling around the country. Yeah, I'm from Detroit when you're from a suburb. But it's changed, and people visibly see it. There were 700, almost 800,000 people down for the draft. Most of those folks were from other parts of the state or the suburbs, and it's just that kind of energy is a little different. It's a little new. And to tell all those folks who come down and physically see a different downtown that is starting to creep, that's the wrong word, starting to inch out into the neighborhoods. It's slow, and it's obviously, there, like you said before the show, there's lots of issues, but the narrative is starting to slowly change. I don't think it's where it was 20 years ago.
That narrative is fighting, almost a half a century of...
The racists are going to be racist.
Well, no, I just mean of being...
You're not going to change your mind, because that's code.
I just mean butts of jokes, right? I mean, Detroit's always... I mean, here's one of the most famous examples of them being a butt of...
Take him to Detroit.
From Kentucky Fried Movie in the 70s.
And how old is that?
From the early 80s.
40 years old, maybe.
You know how many stories have been in the last 5 years from national food magazines and architecture magazines, travel magazines, the big national papers about how this city's changing? I hear it when I travel.
Well, what it definitely shows is that Trump is way out of touch with what Detroit's like today. I mean,
that's all I'm saying.
He doesn't know Detroit, but nobody's going to not vote for him because they're like, oh, Trump's his vision of Detroit is outdadated.
No, that's what I'm saying. It may not hurt him, but I don't think that it's and it was for sure a dog whistle, but and maybe an overt one too. But I don't think it'll help him in the way that it might have.
So
even
I'm not saying it's going to help him.
Ago.
I'm not saying it's going to help him, but I am suggesting that this notion that, there goes Trump blowing off another one of his toes when he's shooting off his mouth, I just don't think it's going to hurt him. Now, maybe the independent voters who everybody's fighting for now will be like, that doesn't quite line up with my perception. But this notion that it's going to be, curtains,
nothing hurts him.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that kind of thing in Geek of the Week.
No, but you would agree he could have said that when he was running in 15 for 16, and it would have felt truer to a lot more people. And that's just 8 years ago.
Maybe, but I think there's too much nuance there. I just think the idea around the country is, Detroit or Cleveland. Those are shithole cities, quote unquote.
That's changing, man. You get out, you hear it. It's changing. It's amazing what a narrative does.
Even
though the neighborhoods and there's so many other issues, even though that's got a long way to go, it's amazing. A drone shot of an NFC playoff game. Remember how good this?
Yeah.
It's amazing what that
Monday Night Football
subconsciously does. It's crazy the power of that.
Well, what Trump could have done that I think would have been more on point is to say that home prices are rising and they've gone up under the Biden-Harris administration. And even here in Detroit, where you used to be able to get a house for $500, people can't afford to find a good place to live. I think that would have resonated, and I think it would have shown some level of sophistication about what's really going on today in Detroit. But I think it's just Trump. Trump's a twitch muscle.
I don't think that matters
whatsoever. He just throws shit out. I don't think this was strategic, but I think it's another example of people in the national media lose their mind, and it's like, I don't think
it
it's
resonates.
Yeah, this is not my least favorite word of the election season, an inflection point in the race. It's just a shit happens. Another crucial turning point that has people genuflecting and falling to their knees in fright was Governor Whitmer and the Dorito. Now, Mark, I haven't heard about this, and I am a regular churchgoer, but not what I would call a great Catholic.
I think we're in the same boat, but yeah.
Yeah, but people were losing their mind because they said that Whitmer mocked the sacrament of communion by taking a Dorito from an atheist Canadian podcaster.
She was giving.
She was giving. Okay.
So they see it as genuflecting towards her and mocking Catholicism.
Okay. So this felt to me totally overblown. I have not seen the video, so I'm not well suited to say it, but you have.
Maybe I'm just not easily offended like a lot of people are, or I don't read into anything. I saw this video and I go, well, that's really dumb. I don't know what it means, but it's stupid. It apparently is a meme type video that's been going around TikTok where you feed somebody food and then it cuts to the person doing the feeding who's kind of disgusted by like, oh, I'm feeding. I don't get it. Kids today, I don't understand it. But when you watch the video, it's just kind of stupid.
Are you gonna play it? Yeah, here we go. For those of you in the Soulmates watching, take a look.
And it's not playing.
That's a pretty booty ass hat, though. I will say that.
I don't know why it's stuttering. Or she's feeding the Dorito chip. Anyway, and then it cuts back.
Is that a riff on an old Patti LaBelle song?
I don't know what song that is, but apparently this is a thing that people do on TikTok, and she loves TikTok. She loves dancing and doing, she's had really odd TikToks before.
Yeah,
she's since apologized, but what drives me nuts about it, there's two things that drive me nuts. That people see that in kind of like the Olympic opening ceremony, remember? Where it was the Dionysus thing, but people are going to see what they want to see, which is the risk you run when you do something dumb like this, Whitmer. But then to kind of, I don't know if you knew this, but the lady who posted it on her site then added something about the CHIPS Act, and they tried to pretend that it's about the CHIPS Act. It's like, you know what? Yeah. Just say you were trying to do a meme that is done on TikTok, and you missed the mark. You've horribly, horribly missed the mark.
Well, this is one of these things where people want politicians not to be so guarded and so staged and so carefully crafted. I don't mind when a politician does something that just doesn't quite hit because it tells me that, hey, they're taking a chance. Maybe it didn't work. Maybe enough of us don't know about this little, gimmick that people are doing now. And so, if you don't have the context, it seems kind of offensive. I like to see politicians do stuff that maybe later on they're like, sorry, I was trying to be funny and I wasn't. I prefer that kind of politician. But at the same time, when I heard about this and now having seen it a couple times.
And the interview is, I think the whole thing was called like chip chat. Like that's the whole hook of the thing, which is stupid.
Yeah, that does seem pretty dumb to me. I would continue to listen to, subscribe, like, and share the Soul of Detroit over whatever the hell that Canadian crap is. And it's not crappy because it's Canadian. It's just the woman. The host is known as a Canadian atheist, which is kind of a weird way to make a living. But anyway, again, I'm not Pope Francis here, but I will tell you, I got to believe that God isn't worried about this. And I would say, given some of the things that have happened in the Catholic Church and in our Catholic communities, this probably isn't the one to get all worked up about, folks. Let's focus on some of the things that Catholics are supposed to care about. Helping the poor, helping those who have less than us. Pope Francis is talking about protecting the environment and protecting liberty and things like that.
But it's not even about that. It's about, I don't like this political candidate.
Exactly. It's about shoving a Dorito up her ass, which is not
and frankly, she
probably
opened,
as
she opened
good
the
as
door for
queso.
that by doing the video. Which
So I
is
know
stupid.
we've tried to ban commas from Mike. Should we also ban the phrase "but anyway"?
Is that I haven't noticed that. Is that a,
No, because then
But
it just
anyway.
means
I learned that from Blues Traveler. But anyway,
Hey, let me ask you guys: have you seen this story? Because we're talking
here we
about. We're talking
so
about.
Shawn,
Detroit.
that's a crutch that I use to desperately try and keep the conversation back on track. And as I can see now, it doesn't work.
But anyway, what
No,
were you gonna say?
you've said what you need to say. It's a Dorito and some kind of orifice and whatever.
Did you think it was stupid?
I don't care one way or the other. I don't have an opinion on it. Dream Troit.
Well, thanks for weighing in
You
there.
guys know this thing? Do you know this? What do you know about Dream Troit?
Hold on, Shawn. Before I answer, I'm just going to get the microphone all hot.
Because
I know nothing about it.
long ago, a friend of mine who was a musician posted the stories from the New York Times where they're taking this, in this particular case, the Lincoln Motor Factory, and they're turning these places into sort of artist studios and housing, and it's a way of redevelopment, and it's starting to have a little bit of success. Have we written about it much in the Free Press? I haven't seen it.
Well, I spend most of my time reading Shawn Windsor's columns, so I didn't get to that yet. But and I'm falling behind on your columns, as you know.
No,
but anyway,
do you guys think that? What do you think of that as a way to repurpose some of these factories rather than just have the French and the Dutch come in and film video for ruin porn? To actually,
what do you have against the French and the Dutch?
nothing.
ruin porn.
Yeah, nothing.
Oh, okay.
The fetishization of poverty. But no, go. What?
I mean, if you like gentrification.
Well, I've lived in a lot of places where mills have been turned into apartments and where other places have been repurposed. You know, as long as it's is okay environmentally, I mean, the kind of stuff you're going to find in the ground and in the walls there, as
Lead
long
and
as
so
it's...
forth. Yeah.
I mean, Jennifer Dixon and I spent a lot of time roaming around the Packard plant, and the amount of shit that's still flying through the air that probably will kill you is a bit troubling. But to me, you know, who wouldn't want to move into a bunker-like place that's going to survive whatever climate disaster comes our way, as long as you can make it cool and livable? And yeah, to me, I'm always for repurposing rather than demolishing. I think that's a great way to go. And if it's got a little flavor and a little history, that just gives it a little, a little swag, right?
I just thought that was cool. Yeah, I just didn't know if you guys knew about this movement going on in Detroit.
No, good. Anything to get more people in.
Yeah, I just hope the EU doesn't find out about it. It's going to hurt them with their video content.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
I'm really glad we changed topics before Shawn took a shot at the Walloons, who are both kind of French and somewhat whatever the Dutch are, Dutchish.
Yeah, no, keep going. It's the geek of the week.
Show off.
Okay. Anyway,
keep it moving.
But anyway,
as Emily Blunt said in The Devil Wears Prada, move it.
So
that's a quote.
Wow, I guess we know what you're watching when you're don't have ruin porn teed up on YouTube.
Oh, I watched that on one of the flights the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
Boy, they must not have had a lot of other options.
Half of that movie is a great movie.
Okay.
You guys have never seen
Is that the half you watched? No, I've never seen it.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yeah. If I fly to Australia, I'm
great.
sure I will get to it after I'm done watching all the Wiggles videos. But damn it. Now I'm thinking about,
Did you just say you're not a chick?
What? Who says
that?
What's going on? I don't know. But anyway.
So this week's geek,
like my Neanderthal high school classmates
are all those folks taking a little snippet, a little clip, a little blurb, and you know who you are. You're on both sides of the political debate and trying to turn it into a big deal because you can't focus on the larger issues, because you can't take a look beyond the immediate, where you're picking every fault you can possibly find with the candidate you don't like and completely and utterly overlooking it with the candidate that you do like, when in fact they probably have a lot more in common than you would care to admit. But then you go on and on and on about how this is the end of humanity if one or the other doesn't. Those of you who are making a big deal out of nothing, and we're going to get more and more of this over the next 3 weeks, as Mark pointed out, when somebody makes a gaffe like this.
Is this Geek of the Week?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
But anyway, people turn it into a commercial within 24 hours and have it up there. It's amazing how fast people can put this stuff to work. If you're getting hung up on these little stumbles, these little foibles, these little inconsequential hiccups, instead of thinking about what really matters, you, Shawn, wait for it, are my Geek of the Week.
If there's an all-night party in room 7609, and you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Last week, I met him. The man, the myth, the legend, that's Dr. Yaldo, this podcast's vision guru. For over 5 years now, he's consulted with hundreds of our listeners, explaining how custom LASIK and those amazing bifocal implants can transform their compromised vision. If you depend on glasses, contacts, or reading glasses, Dr. Yaldo will get you to 20/20 or better. Marc and I have both had LASIK. We see 20/15, which is better than 20/20. And you won't need any of those old technologies like glasses, contacts, that thing that Sean Connery used in The Name of the Rose so that he could read those ancient scripts. You'll never need those ever again. So go see Dr. Yaldo and toss those old-fashioned solutions in the trash. Name of the Rose, much underappreciated Sean Connery movie. And a Christian Slater star vehicle of all things. He looks great with that bald spot burned in. Dr. Yaldo has brought his years of experience and expertise to some 50,000 Michiganians. For those reaching middle age, near vision issues, the bifocal lens implants are life-changing, and the procedure is quick and painless. Just go to YaldoEyeCenter.com to learn more and sign up for your free, no-obligation evaluation. And when you go see Dr. Y, tell him ML sent you. And we'll have a link to his website on our website. And just a minute ago, we were talking about this extremism and this dire predictions about the election. And I do think there are some candidates who are better than others and that you should be very careful and do your homework before you make a choice. And the person who may be the best choice for me may not be the best choice for you because we may have different things we believe in and different priorities. So do your homework. But I have heard from celebrities that if Donald Trump wins in November, it's the end of our nation. And then I heard from some other people that if Kamala Harris wins in November, Marc, you may have an idea what they would say.
It's going to be the end of our nation?
It's the end of our nation. That's exactly correct.
We're going to be like Detroit.
So we're screwed either way?
Well, it does appear that way. So why not ask Luke Nowacki for help managing your investment portfolio as the country implodes like the last days of Rome? What do you have to lose, Shawn? You can't lose more than 100%. While you think about it, that's the truth. That's the answer. That's right. You can't lose more than 100%. And the other thing is when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
So we have a selection this week in room 7609 that I think Shawn is going to hate.
I thought he chose it. Oh, really?
No, he's going to hate it because
I thought he would have picked this song.
It's one of the greatest new wave tunes of all time. It has no groove. It has nothing to do with the Tigers season. Shawn, it's by a little group out of, I think, Dusseldorf named Lakeside. I'm wondering if you will recognize it within the first couple beats. Shawn, any guesses?
Guess not.
No.
Falco covered it, I think.
Falco?
No, I'm just kidding. Little guy named Coolio.
Now the dude's so funky, hey, what do you think? What is it called? It's called a Lakeside Stank. Come along and ride on a fantastic voyage. I'm the captain of this vessel. We wanna take you on a cruise all around the land. Music is at hand. We wanna play it for you. You see, we want to be
Shawn, did we finally find something that meets your approval?
It's a fun song. Yeah, I enjoy that. It's a fun song.
Well, I was driving up north to Glen Arbor for memorial service on Saturday, and whenever the Tigers would change pitchers, the Cleveland Guardians would change pitchers.
See, it's not very easy.
It just rolls up. You know, the thing about Cleveland's old nickname is it was in honor of one of the greatest Cleveland players of all time when they were known as the Cleveland Spiders. And I think if they had not gone with the Chief Wahoo logo, they could have kept it. And now
they got rid of the Chief Wahoo logo the really bad one, but then they had the other one, but they hadn't used it in at least a decade before they changed the name.
Still a lot of people wearing it. I think there's a lot of bootleg. I wonder if they'll have like a steel worker who looks like Chief Wahoo wearing a hard hat as kind of a counter revolution.
The Cleveland Albert Bells. Remember when he plunked a fan?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I liked Albert Bell.
I did too.
Why?
Oh God,
he's such a dick.
We were talking about that the other day. That maybe it should. I don't want to sound like a get off my porch, get off my lawn kind of screamer.
But anyway,
didn't baseball used to have a lot more stars that were known by everybody?
Yeah. Well, it used to be It used to be the national pastime. Now
and you'd go down
sport.
and you'd go down to the ballpark not just to see other teams. You'd sometimes, I want to go see Frank Thomas hit. I want to go see Ken Griffey Jr.
Still
You'd go for batting practices. That's why Sammy Sosa said he loaded his bat so that in batting practice he could launch him into the stands because people expected him.
It still exists, but only for one player, and that's
Ohtani.
Yeah.
Ohtani.
But it just seemed like there used to be
and Judge.
Okay, fair point. Yeah.
I mean, I used to like to watch the Blue Jays. I mean, you knew most of their players, right?
Oh yeah, George Bell, Jesse Barfield, Tony
all those
Fernandez.
guys. I loved watching the second baseman, Alomar.
Roberto.
It was really fun to watch. I mean, you just when did that change? The early 2000s, maybe.
I think the lockout really.
The Yankees were the last. The Yankees were the last team with Jeter.
Okay, maybe that
in the early 2000s to have stars, right?
Yeah.
Nomar in Boston, Nomar was like a god, and then he just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, baseball really it's amazing how much that's changed.
It's just a regional sport now.
I don't know. It depends on what sports you prefer. Like I grew up playing baseball, not any other sport, so I love baseball. I would go to see the Seattle Mariners no matter whether they were good or bad, just because I want to see Ichiro, because there were few players who were more dynamic than he was. And when the Yankees come to town, I love to try and go there and sit on the first baseline with Judge, because when you see him come out of the dugout, you're just like, oh my God, the guy is a giant. And then Ohtani, you watch Ohtani and he is the least demonstrative player I think I've ever seen until he gets on base and he does some weird little wiggle dance, which is kind of strange.
Oh yeah, the celebration, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if that's like selling some products in Japan and that we don't understand it. That there's no.
There are a few of them, Mike. To your point, but what's interesting, the reason I say all that too is because I keep reading that the numbers are up, the ratings are up.
They were big
this
for the
postseason.
Playoffs,
Not just locally with the Tigers, but nationally they're up. And I'm trying to figure that out, like why this surge. My kids were
that's
all
impressive
over
considering
this.
a lot of the games are not broadcast because of the Bally Sports fiasco.
Well, you're talking about the playoffs.
I'm talking about the postseason numbers are up this year by a fair amount.
Yeah,
and I've been trying to figure out, is it the markets? The Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees.
Well, that's
got to be part of it.
Without a doubt, it's New York and L.A.
You've got the West Coast and East Coast, right? The biggest TV markets. You've got
San Diego,
you've got
too,
San Diego and L.A., so there's SoCal. Mm-hmm. You've got New York and New York. Those are big markets. And then
you had Philadelphia, too.
Yeah, Philly.
And Houston, which is the fourth biggest, third or fourth biggest market.
A lot of big markets.
A lot of people with an interest in it.
So that's probably part of it. But
I got to say, a lot of fun. I mean, the Tiger story nationally was pretty big.
It was. Yeah. It was. So, I was just curious, can baseball make a comeback at some point? I don't know.
I hope
so. I think part of the problem is football.
It's
the
not
NFL.
just the markets, though, right?
What do you mean?
I think it's also the slow, like the games are quicker.
Well, they have fixed the game.
Yeah. They've helped with the speed. They've helped with the
It's not just all home run, walk, and strikeout anymore, which is kind of what pulled me away from the game. It was just kind of boring.
Well, and there were 3 hour and 15-minute affairs in June,
which is funny because I will sit and watch a college football game that's like 3.5 hours
once a week.
Without a problem.
It's once a week.
College football stops for them to move the ball or a replay. Baseball stops for somebody to scratch themselves, to re-velcro their gloves, to walk around, to it's not compelling.
It's amazing because last night the Bills and Jets played, right? Pretty good matchup, interdivisional. You got a New York team, pretty interesting. It's one of the worst football games I've ever watched in my life. Just penalty after penalty, missed kicks, just not good play. And yet I watched the whole goddamn game. And I don't know if I would do that for many
Partly
sports.
because you wanted to listen to the Mannings and
maybe I had money on it. No, I'm just kidding.
And the Belichick. Do you bet a lot?
Not. I wouldn't say. Well, define a lot.
I don't know what that means.
Not. I don't gamble.
You bet every weekend.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but never that much money.
What is that's relative? Also, like,
Exactly.
what do you cap yourself at for a weekend? $100?
Sure.
Oh, okay. So more. Wow. What are you getting paid on the afternoon show that you can gamble?
It doesn't matter.
$1,000 a week.
It depends how much I'm winning during the week, Sean.
That's right.
You must be pretty good at this.
He's burning. Right. He's burning down the house.
No, you know what it is? It's those damn promos that they'll throw on your phone where it's like, "Hey, bet boost," or "No sweat bet." But honestly, you break even.
So
I haven't taken any money out from. Look, gambling is one of those things where whatever money you put in, don't expect to ever see that again.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I can manage that and never have to put more in,
you can have so it's almost like a free hobby.
Yeah.
Because you're good enough to break even.
Well, I don't know about that.
That's awesome. I'm proud of you.
It's good stuff.
I don't know if I'm
So if you're not watching,
I love you both.
even Steven.
If you're not watching Monday Night Football, perhaps you'd like to go to the Caju Cafe, where you can start your week off right with Muscle Madness every Monday, when the Caju dishes up all you can eat mussels and the Monday Night Jam with Bobby East and friends. On Wednesday, the Caju has karaoke. Thursday, hear Dan Devins and the Blues Delegation. Friday, it's Wednesday's karaoke. Thursday, it's Dan Devins and the Blues Delegation. Friday, it's Spit Valve, the Busby Death Chair. That's going to be quite a show. On Saturday, we've got Jim McCarthy and the Mystery Cherry Band, Antiquing While Drinking, and Train.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You definitely do not want to be.
I think that's the only way I want to antique.
While drinking. Not really big on antiquing, but going to the Caju and listening to great music, having great food, having a good time, I would do it. I like history, but I don't think of history being embodied by a coffee table.
No.
By people that made things with their hands and spent a lot of time and love and effort and care. But that's okay. Go ahead.
I mean, you can buy stuff from the Amish, too.
There's that, too. And then on Friday, I'm totally lost here. On Saturday, we got
mussels and fries.
Just go to the Caju. That's all.
On Sunday, end the week on a high note with the Delta 5. And for more on the food, music, and fun, go to cajucafe.com. That's CIDEUX Cafe, CAFE, accent aigu. No, you don't have to worry about the accent.com. And you can find a link to their website at our website, which is probably the most efficient way to do it. And that's mlsoulofdetroit.com. I want to thank a new member, a new soulmate.
Thank you.
Our newest soulmate, Rose Goliath, who has joined us. We appreciate your support. If you want to join us, it's really easy. Just go to our website, mlsoulofdetroit.com. You'll see a couple ways to support us. One, there's a button that you can hit to make a one-time PayPal donation. Two, there's a button you can hit to make a one-time Venmo donation. But what we really like is if you become a regular sponsor by going to the Patreon link and signing up. You can sign up for as little as $5 a month. For that, you get to watch the show. You get access to the show before anybody else. You don't have to listen to those annoying insertion ads. It also brings us a little revenue, but you can be spared that. And you can watch the show, which I may have already mentioned, but here's the big thing. We recently changed our pricing so that for just $5 a month, you can get our monthly bonus episode. Our last two were peaches. We had Erica Erickson giving some of her very, very savvy advice, and Bernie Smilovitz telling some tales of his TV career.
Bernie was awesome.
And talking about where the industry is going. So that's great stuff, and you can only get that if you are one of our soulmates. We love it when you suggest stuff for Room 7609. It makes less work for us, and the stories are so much better when they're coming from you. You can send those suggestions to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com, and you can send us your feedback, which is exactly what Dan did. He says, Michael, you talk to me like you know me, Dan. Hope you and the crew are well. Erica is a boisterous addition. As a Catholic Democrat, I'm curious to hear your spin on Governor Whitmer's raunchy Dorito Eucharist viral stunt, which has rightfully enraged Christians, especially Catholics, on both sides of the political aisle. Now, I don't know if Dan is assuming that I am a Democrat or if he's a Catholic Democrat. I'm not sure there. But anyways, he says, note the lies and cleanup. The video caption was stealth edited after the outrage began going viral, when they added references to the CHIP Act. Before the edit, it was only the same sexual innuendo as the video. If he won't, Big Gretch will. This stunt and podcast interview obviously had zero to do with microchip legislation. Mark, is that right? They added the CHIP Act stuff later?
That's what I was saying. They did edit the, I said that earlier in the show, that they edited the post. Now, they did in the podcast talk about the CHIP Act and manufacturing very little. Okay. But I think it's called Chip Chat. So, no, I do believe that was a total cover your ass, but I also don't think she was purposely out there mocking Christians and Catholics by offering someone a chip that looked like the Eucharist. I think she was trying to do what is a funny meme for the kids on TikTok, and it just fell flat. It missed the mark, and it was stupid. Like, when I first saw it, I'm like, this is just dumb. I don't know what this is, but I think it's dumb. I wasn't offended by it. I certainly didn't equate it to... But, other people see what they want to see. We see it all the time from this position. People hear things they want to hear.
Well, and people portray things in the way they want. I would just say this as
I just want Mike to say what to think and do, and then I'm good. It's easier that way.
Remember when I said earlier that sometimes when you tell people to do something, they do the exact opposite? That is case Shawn Windsor. But anyway. He's a naughty, naughty boy.
But isn't he great to have around?
It is. We missed him. It's
nice to be back.
I'm in the Alex camp. I think Shawn brings an aura.
No, it's nice to be back. I miss Cyrus too.
Sort of like a fart in a car. He's just there, and you can't escape. And it's a long way until they let you out. So Dan continues. The 37-year-old host of the podcast, who is on her knees for the Dorito wafer, is a pro-abortion Canadian atheist who made callous jokes about abortion during the interview. And it sure seemed like she was purposely dressed to resemble a Catholic schoolgirl. To me, a vile, literal blasphemy and really hurtful misstep by a governor struggling to age gracefully. 53-year-old Gretchen appears beyond thirsty to be seen as hip and social media famous.
Thoroughly agree with that last statement.
As a fellow over 50 person, I will just tell the governor this is unsolicited advice and unpaid for, but when we try and do what the kids are doing, it doesn't often go
let the kids do it
as well as we think it will. It's sad and immature, like the famous line in Mean Girls, I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. It backfired, then made even worse by her fake wink apology.
By the way, are we into our second round of the stat? What do we call this music? There's a name for this.
This is Max Prokop. This is our
when,
music bed.
In a show, when you play music, when you're reading...
A bumper?
Yeah.
This is the bed. It's a music bed.
Okay,
yeah.
this is second. This section's so long. This is second music.
Yeah.
Bed. So way to go, Dan.
And we might get to the end of it without interruptions. But anyway, Dan says it backfired, then made even worse by her fake wink apology. People weren't born last night. We all know she and the pro-abortion host were obviously mocking Catholics and traditional Holy Communion. Godspeed, Dan. Well, Dan, you heard our take on it, and we'll leave that on the table. But thank you very much. Jennifer says, hello. I watched you on Rachel Maddow discussing GOP candidate Mike Rogers. I live in Lee County, Florida, which is where Mike Rogers has a home. So I looked up his property on the property appraiser's website, and it sure does look like he has homestead exemption on that property. Now, we're talking about this because this references my last On Guard column, but I've heard this email from a lot of people who listen to the podcast and who write the Free Press. She says you can only qualify for this exemption if the home is declared as your permanent residence. Another interesting thing I found is that the property's value was less than $500,000 last year and is now valued at $1.6 million. Last year's valuation was the lowest ever for this home since being built. In any event, if he has homestead exemption on this property, he is either committing fraud in Florida or here in Michigan. Thanks for your work, Jennifer. So, Jennifer, let me address this because I didn't bring it up in the column that he had a homestead exemption in Florida because he did lift that. He rescinded it. So when you get a homestead exemption, I'll try and be brief because I know this can get kind of dry. You get it for a whole year. And once the next year is coming up, if you rescind it, then you don't get it for the next year. So Mike Rogers did rescind his homestead exemption that would have applied for 2024 if he hadn't done anything. So he did make that sort of declaration that he no longer considers Florida his home. The other thing is, in terms of the valuation, I don't know why it would be so low. I will tell you that property valuations typically are half of what the market value of a home is. Maybe there is a real big appreciation in property values in that area, but that's the kind of thing that's set by an appraiser, unless Rogers has somebody in the appraiser's office, which I've heard no evidence of that. Maybe it just had a low evaluation. I'm not really sure how that works in Florida, but the fact that a property is valued by an appraiser, a government appraiser, for less than its actual value is not uncommon. In Michigan, you should expect to see your house valued at less than half of what you would have to pay to buy it today. So Jennifer, thanks for reading. We really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to having another pretty good On Guard column this Sunday. We appreciate it when you subscribe to the Free Press because you support my work. You support that of Shawn Windsor. It's 10 cents a month now, folks. There's no reason not to do that because I'll tell you, even with our soulmates and our sponsors, this podcast don't pay the bills. So please keep us alive and well.
Neither
the Free Press.
Does pay my gambling debts.
Oh, so you aren't gambling that much. Okay. We got a great email from Bob as well. Bob, you want us to watch some video before we comment on that. So I want to watch that video because I want to give
that looks interesting.
Yeah, I want to give your email the proper attention it deserves. But we really appreciate
every
everybody.
email.
Yeah, of course. Dan, Jennifer, Bob, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for writing. Please consider becoming a soulmate. And Shawn, where are you off to next?
Champaign, Illinois.
Ooh.
Illinois.
Top 25 matchup.
Illinois, Michigan football, yeah.
How was Michigan favored in that game? I do not understand.
I don't know, because they're Michigan.
Brent Bielema. Maybe
so going there this weekend for that, and then get to stick around for a bit. Get back into the routine. I don't think I'm going out with the Lions again until November when I go, it's funny, right back to Texas, to Houston.
Oh, wow. That'd be a great game.
Mark, did you enjoy the bye week? Both of our teams went undefeated and undefeated.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good weekend of football.
I think
I just love that sport.
Aidan Childs needs a little more time to figure things out, and I think Michigan can certainly use a week off to figure things out in their quarterback.
No, the bye week came at a perfect time.
So, and did you know the Big Ten, we have 2 byes this season now? Somebody just told me that the other day, that Michigan State has one sometime in November, which I guess is part of trying to balance the TV schedule.
As a dedicated fan, sometimes I need the bye week.
Okay. Well, I look forward to...
And I do too, now that I've been back into the podcast. So.
You've earned it, mister.
Yeah. Well, Shawn never gets a break because the Tigers were doing better than people expected. Then the Lions are always good.
Go right on the wings.
It was a little bit of a crazy run there, kind of out of nowhere. Yeah, but it was fun.
Yeah. No, that was awesome. It really made the fall that much
better. And it helped the podcast because I was gone, so that's always good.
Alex would not agree, but
I wouldn't agree.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, so
thank you, Alex.
And I'm sure there's one other person who feels the same way.
Yeah, no, for sure. Good to
Next
be back,
week,
though.
Erica Erickson will be back with we think, a very special guest. We're trying to lock that down. I think one of the things that will help is if Shawn's laundry is all done before this person confirms, because apparently they were concerned about the hygiene of their dining companion when they were in Cleveland. So we got to try and see what we can do to ameliorate that. And please listen, like, and share the show. You can follow us on Twitter at Elric. We're on Facebook at ML Elric. You can listen to us anywhere quality listening and this show are found. So until next week, we ask our good friend Cyrus, who really thinks Detroit's pretty cool, to take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Are you an assassin?
I'm a reporter.
You're an errand boy. Sent by
Drew Lane
to collect the bill.
The Soul.